You ever wonder how God is believed to communicate with us? Well, in Islam, it's not just a one-off event. It's thought of as a continuous, unbroken chain. Today, we're going to dive into this foundational Islamic belief in prophets and messengers, and we'll explore how this idea of a constant line of guidance stretches all the way across human history.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the chain of revelation. You know, the big idea. Then we'll get into the really important difference between a prophet and a messenger. After that, we'll talk about why they were human, just like us, look at some key figures, and finally, wrap it all up by looking at the legacy of their guidance. Let's jump in. All right, so what's the main idea here? It's pretty profound, actually. The belief is that after creating humanity, God didn't just leave everyone to fend for themselves. Instead, there was this direct and continuous line of communication through certain chosen individuals. And this isn't just a theological idea, it's right there in the Quran. This verse points to a long-established history of both messengers and prophets. It's not about a single moment, but this recurring, constant act of divine guidance that creates this incredible, unbroken chain throughout all of human history.
Okay, now this is where things get really fascinating. This whole chain of guidance isn't just one size fits all. There's a really crucial distinction to be made. See, while a lot of figures received divine revelation, the type of mission they had, their specific job, wasn't always the same.
So yeah, you gotta ask, right? Were all these divine messengers the same? And the answer is no. It really comes down to two different Arabic terms, and each one defines the very specific nature of that person's divine mission. First up, we have the term Nabi, which translates to prophet. A Nabi is someone who gets revelation directly from God. Their main job is often to uphold and call people back to a divine law that's already in place, one that was revealed to a messenger who came before them. And then you have the Rasul, or messenger. Now, a Rasul is also a prophet, a Nabi, but they have this extra super critical responsibility. They are given a new divine law, a whole new Sharia, to bring to their people. It's like they're introducing a new chapter of divine law. So let's just break this down. Both the Nabi and the Rasul get revelation from God, no question. But the key difference, as you can see, is that the Rasul brings a new law, a fresh Sharia. And this leads to a really fundamental point. Every single messenger is a prophet, but not every prophet is a messenger. The role of a messenger is just more specific, and you could say legislatively more significant. So this leads to another huge question. Who were these people exactly? I mean, to be chosen for such a massive task, were they angels or some other kind of being? Well, the answer we're given is actually very direct. This verse leaves no room for doubt. The ones who received revelation were men. They were human beings, chosen from their own communities. They ate, they slept, they had good days and bad days just like everybody else. And this was so important because really, how can you follow a role model that you can't even relate to? And, you know, this actually speaks to a common argument you see in the Quran. People throughout history would object. They'd say, wait, why would God send a mere human to guide us? But the wisdom in it is just profound. The guide had to be human to show everyone else how the divine message could actually be lived out in a real, practical way. All right, to make this all a bit more real, let's put some names to these concepts. Let's look at some of the specific people that are highlighted from this incredible chain of guidance. We can start with Prophet Yusuf, or Joseph as he's known in the Judeo-Christian tradition. He's presented as this powerful example of a messenger sent to the people of Egypt. And his life story? Wow. It's just a masterclass in faith, patience, and trusting in the divine plan. And you can really feel the huge impact he had from this verse. It describes how the people felt after he died. They felt such a loss, this giant void, that they couldn't even imagine God sending another messenger after him. It just goes to show you the deep, personal bond a messenger could form with their people. Of course, another central figure mentioned is Prophet Musa, or Moses. I mean, he is the classic example of a Rasul, a messenger, because he was given a comprehensive divine law, the Torah, which became this spiritual and legal bedrock for his people for generations to come. But here's another key distinction. Not every great figure in this history was a prophet. There's another really high rank, the Sadduqin, or the truthful ones. And the number one example given for this is Abu Bakr, the closest friend and companion of the final prophet, Muhammad. You can see just how special Abu Bakr's status was from this famous Quranic verse. It refers to this critical moment when he and the prophet were hiding out in a cave. He wasn't a prophet himself, but his absolute, unwavering truthfulness and support earned him this unique rank, a station right below the prophets.
Okay, so we've looked at the structure, we've seen the key differences, and we've met some of the main players. But what's the big picture here? What was the whole point of this continuous, centuries-long chain of prophets and messengers?
When you boil it all down, this whole chain had one clear, consistent purpose. It was all about reconnecting humanity to its creator. It was about setting up a framework for a just and moral life through divine law. And, so importantly, it was about providing real, live, human role models to show how you could actually put that faith into practice. And that really brings us to our final thought. In a world that can often feel like it's lost its way, a world searching for meaning in a moral compass, what can we learn from a legacy like this? What does it truly mean to believe that humanity was never just left to wander in the dark, without a map? Something to think about.